Have you ever wondered why some people seem to command instant respect the moment they walk into a room, while others struggle endlessly to be taken seriously no matter how hard they try? It's not always about money, power, or status. Respect has little to do with titles and everything to do with presence. People are constantly scanning, observing, and silently judging who deserves their trust and who does not. The truth is, you don't earn respect by demanding it. You earn it by who you choose to be in every interaction, every word, and every decision. And often, it is not about what you add to yourself, but what you remove. Think about the times when you felt dismissed, overlooked, or invisible. That pain was not just in the way others treated you, it was in the way you allowed certain habits to quietly sabotage your own authority. Respect doesn't slip away overnight. It's lost in small patterns repeated over and over until people no longer see your strength. The challenge is that most people are not even aware of the habits that make others lose faith in them. They keep repeating the same behaviors, hoping one day someone will notice their worth, yet the opposite happens. The more they try, the less they are valued. This is why understanding what takes respect away is just as important as learning how to build it. Imagine for a moment the freedom of walking into a room without second-guessing yourself. Picture yourself speaking with calm confidence, knowing your voice carries weight. Envision others listening closely when you speak, not because you shout louder, but because your presence makes them lean in. That power is possible when you strip away the habits that drain your dignity and replace them with patterns that command authority without force. People are drawn to strength, but not the kind of strength that tries to dominate. They respect the quiet confidence that needs no explanation. They admire those who stand tall without apologizing for their existence. They trust those who live in truth, who own their decisions, and who protect their energy with clear boundaries. Respect is not about arrogance, it is about alignment. Your actions, your words, and your mindset working together as proof that you value yourself. When you remove the habits that weaken this alignment, you transform not just how people see you, but how you see yourself. Stay with this message, because over the course of these moments, you will discover the 5 habits that are quietly holding you back from the respect you deserve. As you listen, you'll begin to recognize them in your own life, and you'll feel the shift that comes with awareness. The reward is profound. The power to finally step into a version of yourself that no longer chases validation, but attracts it naturally. By the end, you'll see that respect is not something you beg for. It is something you embody. And once you embody it, no one can take it away. Every person yearns for respect, and yet so many of us stumble into its absence without even seeing it happen. Respect is not granted, it is sensed. It rises from subtle habits, choices, and tone that ripple outward, shaping how others feel in your presence. When your inner world is grounded, solid, and aligned with purpose, people tune in. Your energy speaks before your words do. Thoughts ripple through your posture, your pauses, your confidence. Whether you command the room or shrink inside it, you carry signals, silent broadcasts that say, I value myself or I am unsure. In the quiet corners of your mind, there's power waiting for you to claim. A powerful presence isn't forged overnight. It grows in the small moments you allow yourself to let go. Let go of cheap approval. Let go of self-doubt lodged in your throat. Let go of habits that whisper you're unworthy. That's where the real work lives. Dismantling the patterns that hollow out your value. Every time you catch yourself shrinking, apologizing for simply being, doubting your contribution, you dim your own light. Each moment of hesitation chips away at your aura, but each moment you choose to stand silently sure, you grow stronger. When your internal signal is clear, others catch it. You don't yell for authority, you glow with respect. You don't chase admiration, you walk in with quiet certainty. You don't wait for someone to recognize your worth, you carry it yourself. People sense when you're aligning with your own truth. They're drawn to the steadiness. They lean in. Confidence rooted in self-respect commands attention. It's magnetic. It requires no embellishment. It simply is. The psychology is simple. Humans mirror what feels safe, what feels grounded. When you operate from a grounded core, your presence becomes a safe harbor in a chaotic world. People lean toward that. That is why discarding habits that fragment your presence is not optional, it's essential. You are building a vessel of authority by shedding what keeps you small. And when that vessel is whole, respect finds its way to you naturally. It doesn't chase. It arrives quietly, recognition woven into every exchange. Your words land with weight, and people listen because they believe in what you feel, not in what you say. This internal alignment moves the audience beyond fascination to conviction. As you allow your voice to carry the resonance of self-trust, you invite others into that same space of calm certainty. You're not just reshaping how they see you. You're reshaping how you feel inside, and that is the true breakthrough. Let that truth settle. You hold the power to change the signals you broadcast the moment you choose to release what holds you back. That release is not weak. It is fierce. It is the beginning of transformation. And as that energy pulses through you, everything shifts. Respect stops being a goal and becomes your reflection. One of the first habits that silently robs you of respect is the constant urge to apologize for everything, even when you have done nothing wrong. Every unnecessary "I'm sorry" sends a message, not just to the people around you, but to your own mind. It tells the world that you believe your presence is a disturbance, that your existence is something to excuse. The more you repeat it, the more you convince yourself that you are smaller than you really are. And people respond to that energy. They begin to see you as uncertain, hesitant, and lacking in authority, even if you are fully capable and worthy. Respect cannot grow in the soil of constant self-erasure. Apologizing when you have genuinely hurt someone is strength, because it shows accountability. But apologizing for speaking, for asking, for existing, or simply for taking up space does the opposite. It erodes your power. People unconsciously start to categorize you as someone who needs permission to belong. And the truth is, you do not need permission. You are enough as you are, and when you carry that truth in your body and voice, people feel it. Every unnecessary apology strips away layers of confidence, and with each layer gone, your presence becomes lighter, less anchored, less respected. The mind is trained through repetition. When you constantly feed it words of apology, it forms a cycle of guilt where none is needed. You become trapped in a pattern of self-doubt. And what happens inside is always projected outward. People sense the hesitation in your tone, the lack of conviction in your words, the nervous glance that follows. It is not the apology itself that weakens you. It is the signal it broadcasts, that you are unsure of your place. And when you are unsure of your place, others will never be sure of your value. Breaking this cycle requires a conscious choice to replace unnecessary apologies with stronger, grounded expressions. Instead of saying sorry for bothering you, you say thank you for your time. Instead of sorry I asked, you say I appreciate your help. Notice the difference. One lowers your power, the other maintains it while still showing respect. This is how you begin to retrain the mind, how you start to align your words with the truth of your worth. It is not about arrogance or harshness, it is about balance. You can be kind without being submissive. You can be respectful without surrendering your dignity. When you remove the habit of over-apologizing, you begin to feel a deeper strength rise within you. Your words hold more weight. Your presence feels more solid. And people notice, often without knowing why. They simply feel it. They sense that you carry yourself with assurance, and they adjust their behavior to match. Respect begins to flow toward you, not because you demanded it, but because you stopped giving away the very energy that kept it from you. When you give away your power through constant apologies, you are training others to see you as smaller than you are. But when you release that habit, a new challenge appears, the temptation to seek validation at every turn. This habit is equally destructive, because it chains your sense of worth to the opinions of others. Every time you look outward for approval, you hand over control of your identity. You give strangers, colleagues, even loved ones the power to decide how valuable you are. Respect cannot survive under those conditions. If people sense that you are desperate for their approval, they instinctively lower the value they place on you. The need for validation often begins as a quiet whisper inside, the subtle fear of not being enough. Over time, it grows into a craving that shapes your actions, your words, even your silence. You start measuring yourself, not by your own standards, but by how others react. Did they like what you said? Did they smile? Did they notice you? And if they did not, doubt floods in. This is how your self-respect is slowly handed away piece by piece. Respect is not found in begging for acknowledgement. It is found in standing firm whether others notice or not. People are drawn to those who are grounded in their own worth. They can feel when someone does not need constant reassurance to keep standing tall. That calm certainty is magnetic. It tells the world, I know who I am, whether you clap for me or not. This is the foundation of authority. This is what makes others lean in, because they trust those who do not need to be constantly told they are enough. A mind chained to validation is a mind that can never be free, but a mind anchored in self-belief becomes unshakable. Breaking free requires a shift in focus. Instead of asking, do they approve of me? You begin asking, do I approve of myself? You start measuring yourself by your growth, your values, your effort, not by fleeting reactions. Each time you resist the urge to fish for reassurance, you strengthen the muscle of inner confidence. It grows with practice, and soon it becomes natural. People notice the shift. They see a person who does not flinch when unrecognized, who does not beg for attention, who does not crumble when applause is absent. That kind of presence commands quiet respect. When you let go of the habit of constant validation seeking, you free yourself from invisible chains. You stop giving others the power to define your worth. And the moment that happens, respect begins to flow toward you in ways it never could before. You are no longer chasing approval, you are radiating confidence. You become someone who does not just want respect, but someone who naturally earns it because you have already given it to yourself. When you no longer depend on others to measure your value, you begin to stand taller. Yet there is another hidden habit that tears respect away more quickly than you realize: the habit of speaking negatively about others. Gossip may feel harmless in the moment, even like a way to connect, but it always leaves a shadow on your name. When people hear you tearing down someone who is not present, they instinctively wonder what you say about them when they are gone. Without realizing it, your words plant seeds of mistrust. Respect cannot grow in the soil of suspicion, and every time you spread negativity, you weaken your own credibility. The truth is simple. People respect those who bring strength, not those who drain it. Negativity is heavy, and it clings to the one who spreads it. When your conversations revolve around criticism, complaints, or whispers, you are teaching others to associate you with weakness. Even if what you say is true, the act of focusing on the flaws of others signals insecurity. It suggests you need to lower someone else in order to feel taller. But the opposite effect takes place. You shrink in their eyes, and the respect you seek begins to slip away. Every word carries energy. When you use your words to build, you radiate strength. When you use them to tear down, you radiate insecurity. Human psychology is wired to trust those who protect, not those who betray. Even subtle gossip, the kind disguised as concern or humor, still communicates a lack of discipline. It shows that your power is not under your control, that you let emotions and impulses rule your tongue. Respect requires restraint. It requires the ability to choose silence over cheap approval, dignity over momentary pleasure. If you want to command respect, make your words count. Speak in a way that adds value, not weight. Choose conversations that inspire growth, not doubt. People remember the feeling you give them, and no one feels safe around a person who casually cuts others down. Safety builds trust, and trust is the root of respect. When you become known as someone who never gossips, who never uses words to poison, people begin to lean toward you with confidence. They know your strength is consistent. They know your character can be trusted. And that is where respect takes root and grows strong. The habit of gossip must be removed because it quietly erodes everything you are trying to build. Replace it with the discipline of purposeful speech. Replace it with the choice to lift rather than lower. In doing so, you separate yourself from the ordinary. You become someone whose presence lightens the room instead of darkening it. And when people feel lighter around you, when they sense your words will never be used against them, respect flows to you effortlessly, because you have proven that your strength is greater than your impulses. When you discipline your words and refuse to spread negativity, you elevate your presence. But respect is also destroyed when you refuse to take responsibility for your own actions. Blame is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility. Every time you point the finger outward, you quietly announce that you are not strong enough to own your choices. People may nod, they may even comfort you, but deep down they lose faith in you. They know that if you cannot hold yourself accountable, you cannot be trusted to hold anyone else accountable either. Respect requires strength, and strength is proven by ownership. Blame feels safe in the moment because it protects your pride, but it does permanent damage to your reputation. Each excuse you make chips away at the image of reliability. People begin to see you as someone who cannot be counted on, someone who escapes when things get hard. And once that perception forms, it is difficult to erase. Respect is not built on perfection. No one respects the illusion of a flawless human being. Respect is built on honesty. It is built on the willingness to admit when you fall short and the courage to rise again without hiding behind excuses. Taking responsibility does not weaken you. It strengthens you. It sends a powerful message: I am in control of myself. I am willing to face consequences. I am willing to learn. That message creates trust, and trust is the soil where respect grows. When people see you stepping into accountability, they recognize a leader. They recognize someone who will not run when things go wrong. They recognize someone who is dependable. That recognition transforms into respect that cannot be faked or forced. The psychology is clear. People admire courage because it is rare. Most people avoid blame, avoid responsibility, and avoid ownership. When you stand apart and embrace it, you elevate yourself above the crowd. Instead of lowering your image, responsibility raises it. Instead of making you small, it makes you large. You become someone who others can lean on because you first learned how to stand firm yourself. This is what makes responsibility magnetic. It transforms mistakes into lessons, setbacks into stepping stones, and failures into foundations of strength. To earn lasting respect, you must cut away the habit of blame and excuses. Replace it with the habit of full ownership. Look at every situation and ask, what is mine to carry, and then carry it without complaint. That weight, that choice, builds a presence that cannot be ignored. People may forget your words, they may forget your successes, but they never forget how you handled responsibility. They never forget the strength of someone who refuses to hide. And when they see that strength, their respect deepens, not because you demanded it, but because you lived in a way that made it impossible to withhold. Respect deepens when responsibility becomes your natural state. But there is another habit that quietly erodes it at its roots: the absence of boundaries. When you say yes to everything, when you allow others to cross lines without resistance, you are teaching them that your time, energy, and dignity are negotiable. A person without boundaries is like a house without walls. Anyone can walk in, rearrange the furniture, and leave a mess behind. And while you may believe that constant availability will make others appreciate you more, the opposite happens. They begin to see you as someone who can be used, someone who has no standard, someone whose value is easy to overlook. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about defining the space in which respect can exist. When you clearly express where you stand, you silently command others to rise to that level. Without them, people may like you, but they will not respect you. Respect is tied to clarity, and clarity comes from limits. Every time you say yes when your heart screams no, you betray yourself. And each self-betrayal lowers your self-respect, which in turn lowers the respect others give to you. People mirror what you project. If you project that your energy has no worth, they will treat it as worthless. Saying no is difficult because it risks disapproval, but disapproval is temporary. Losing respect is permanent. When you deny your own limits to avoid disappointing others, you gain a moment of peace, but lose a lifetime of dignity. Boundaries protect not just your time, but your spirit. They show the world that you value yourself enough to stand firm. That silent message is powerful. It makes people pause. It makes them adjust. It forces them to recognize that you are not a follower of convenience, but a person of principle. The psychology is undeniable. Scarcity creates value. When your energy is guarded, when your presence is not handed away carelessly, people begin to treasure it more. They pay closer attention. They measure their words differently. They approach you with more care. This is how respect is earned, not by being endlessly available, but by ensuring that your presence carries weight. Every no you speak is not rejection, it is refinement. It sharpens the way others see you. It lifts the quality of your relationships. It strengthens the foundation of your identity. Removing the habit of weak boundaries is not selfish. It is self-respect in action. The more clearly you draw the line, the more solid your presence becomes. And when you are solid, people cannot ignore you. They see your strength, they feel your certainty, and they respond with respect. Your yes gains power only when it is backed by the courage to say no. And when you master that balance, you transform into someone who is not merely liked, but someone who is deeply valued. When you begin to enforce boundaries with courage and consistency, you reclaim the respect that should have always been yours. People start treating you differently, not because they changed, but because you changed the standard they must rise to in order to remain in your life. Yet boundaries are not just lines you draw for others, they are declarations you make to yourself. They are proof that you have decided your time and your energy are sacred. And when you live by that truth, an unshakable strength begins to grow within you. Respect is never built on weakness. It is built on the quiet conviction that you are worthy of being treated with honor. The presence of boundaries does more than protect you from disrespect. It also magnifies your influence. People instinctively give more weight to someone who is not easily swayed, who is not pulled in every direction by demands, expectations, or guilt. They see consistency, and consistency creates trust. Trust becomes admiration, and admiration matures into respect. This is the natural chain reaction that happens when you decide you will no longer betray yourself just to keep others comfortable. Every time you hold a boundary, you reinforce your own value in the eyes of those around you. You show them that you are not afraid to stand alone if it means standing in truth, and what happens within is just as powerful. When you no longer say yes out of fear, you feel lighter, you feel freer, you stop carrying the resentment that comes from giving away more than you can afford. You stop drowning in exhaustion that comes from putting everyone else ahead of yourself. Instead, you move through life with clarity and confidence. You feel alignment between your words and your heart, your actions and your principles. That alignment radiates outward, and people sense it. They respect it. They are drawn to it because it represents a strength they crave for themselves. Boundaries are the visible evidence of self-respect, and without self-respect, no external respect will ever last. You cannot demand from others what you refuse to give yourself. The world mirrors the standard you live by, not the one you wish for. And the standard you live by is revealed every time you choose to honor or ignore your limits. When you guard what matters most, you teach others how to treat you. When you let everything slide, you teach them the same. The difference lies in your choice. Respect is not built in grand gestures, it is built in daily decisions. It is built in the courage to honor your boundaries even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it risks disapproval, even when it challenges long-standing patterns. Because every time you choose your strength over your fear, you rise. And when you rise, people cannot help but look up to you. The path to respect becomes clearer when you strip away these habits, because each one removed reveals a stronger version of yourself. You begin to see how much of your life has been shaped not by what you lacked, but by what you tolerated. Over-apologizing, seeking validation, spreading negativity, avoiding responsibility, and living without boundaries are not just small flaws. They are signals. They are messages that tell the world how much or how little you value yourself. And every message you send is reflected back to you. When you weaken your own image, people mirror that weakness. When you strengthen it, they mirror that strength. Respect is a reflection of self-respect. Think about the quiet power that grows when these destructive patterns no longer rule you. Imagine how your presence changes when you no longer feel the need to justify yourself, when you no longer beg for attention, when your words are disciplined, when your choices are owned, and when your boundaries are unshakable. That is the energy of true authority. It is not loud, it is not forced, it is not desperate. It is steady, calm, and undeniable. People gravitate toward that presence because it represents stability in a world that is easily shaken. Psychology proves that people respond to what feels certain. Certainty is rare, and that is why it carries weight. Every time you live from a place of inner strength instead of fear, you increase that certainty. Others feel it in your tone, in your silence, in your ability to remain calm under pressure. Respect is not earned by showing perfection. It is earned by showing consistency. It is earned by proving through your habits that you do not collapse under the weight of discomfort. The human mind craves examples of resilience, and when you embody that resilience, you rise above the noise. The most powerful shift happens when you realize that respect is not a prize given by others, but a mirror of how you live. It is not something you chase, it is something you attract. And attraction happens naturally when you let go of the habits that repel it. Your authority becomes effortless, not because you demand attention, but because people cannot ignore you. They see discipline, they see clarity, they see strength. And strength, real strength, is always respected. This transformation is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing the parts of you that never belonged in the first place. The habits that kept you small were never the real you. They were fears disguised as patterns, comfort zones disguised as personality. When you strip them away, what remains is your truest self. Confident, grounded, respected. That is the version of you the world has been waiting to see. And when you choose to live from that version, respect is no longer uncertain. It becomes inevitable. Respect becomes inevitable when you begin to embody the version of yourself that no longer clings to weakness. The strength you project is no longer borrowed. It is owned. It does not depend on applause, agreement, or permission. It rises from the inside where no one else has access, and it radiates outward in ways you may not even notice but others cannot ignore. That inner authority changes the way people listen when you speak. It changes the way they respond when you act. It changes the way they measure your presence, because they see in you what they crave in themselves, a person who lives with alignment and refuses to bend under pressure. The transformation is not just about removing habits, it is about rewiring your identity. Every time you stop yourself from over-apologizing, you strengthen the belief that your voice matters. Every time you resist the urge to chase validation, you reinforce the truth that your worth is not negotiable. Every time you silence gossip and speak with purpose, you prove that your words are a tool of power rather than a weapon of weakness. Every time you embrace responsibility, you remind yourself and others that strength comes not from hiding mistakes, but from owning them. And every time you enforce boundaries, you confirm that your life has value and that your energy is too important to waste. These choices do more than change how others see you. They change how you see yourself. And when you see yourself with clarity, when you begin to feel the solidity of your own worth, everything shifts. Your confidence is no longer a performance, it becomes your natural state. Your presence is no longer a mask, it becomes your truth. People respect authenticity because it is rare. They are surrounded daily by people who pretend, who posture, who chase approval, who bend to avoid disapproval. When they encounter someone who does none of that, someone who is calm, steady, and unapologetically themselves, it stands out. It commands respect without a single demand. The deepest form of respect is not when others agree with you, but when they recognize they cannot ignore you. It is when your presence forces them to acknowledge your strength, even if they do not like it. That is what happens when you align your actions with self-respect. The very energy around you changes. The way people look at you changes. The way they speak to you changes. And the way they treat you changes, not because you asked, but because you became someone who naturally requires it. This is the reward of removing the habits that weaken you. You stop fighting for scraps of attention and begin carrying yourself as someone who is already enough. And when you live as though you are enough, the world adjusts. Respect no longer feels like a dream just out of reach. It becomes the air you breathe. Respect is not sustained by a single act of strength, but by consistency that proves your character cannot be shaken. People measure you not only by what you say once, but by what you repeat every day. If you rise one moment but collapse the next, you send the message that your strength is temporary. But when you remain steady, when you show that your values do not bend under pressure, you establish an identity that others instinctively honor. Consistency creates trust, and trust transforms into respect. Every choice you make is either reinforcing or weakening the image you present to the world, and the discipline to choose strength repeatedly is what builds unshakable authority. The mind seeks patterns, and people around you are always reading yours. They are watching how you react to conflict, how you respond to stress, how you carry yourself when things don't go your way. If you are calm under tension, they know you are grounded. If you speak with clarity when others are confused, they know you are focused. If you refuse to lower yourself when provoked, they know you are in control. These patterns of strength become a language without words, a silent signal that sets you apart. Respect does not come from what you demand, it comes from what you consistently embody. True power is not loud. It does not need to announce itself. It shows in restraint, in patience, in the refusal to compromise dignity for temporary comfort. Many confuse noise with influence, but noise fades quickly. What remains unforgettable is the person who does not waver, who holds their ground even when silence feels heavy. That kind of steadiness cannot be overlooked, and it leaves a lasting impression that outlives words. When people sense that they cannot manipulate you, when they see that you cannot be guilted or pressured into betraying yourself, they begin to value you at a deeper level. Every act of consistency is a statement of self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, you build internal confidence that radiates outward. When you show up with discipline, even when it is inconvenient, you prove that your standards are not situational. When you hold boundaries without apology, you send the message that your worth is not up for debate. These actions, repeated again and again, create a foundation no one can shake. The more solid your foundation, the more respect you naturally attract. People may not always agree with you, but they cannot deny you. Respect becomes less about how others treat you and more about how you condition them to respond to you through your unwavering example. And when you reach the point where you no longer chase it, no longer beg for it, no longer fear losing it, you realize it was never about them. It was about you. Respect begins and ends with the strength you embody every single day. Strength is not about proving yourself to others, it is about proving yourself to yourself. When you rise each day with the intention to honor your values, you are building a quiet power that cannot be taken away. This power does not need recognition because it is rooted in truth. The more you align with your inner standard, the less dependent you become on external validation. People can praise you or dismiss you, but it does not change the core of who you are. That independence makes you magnetic because others sense a stability within you that they cannot shake. Respect follows those who respect themselves first. Every time you choose discipline over weakness, integrity over convenience, dignity over desperation, you reinforce that respect within. It shows in your posture, your tone, your decisions, your energy. Others may not fully understand why they feel drawn to you, but they will sense it. They will sense that you carry yourself with a weight that demands consideration. And the truth is, when you respect yourself so deeply that compromise feels impossible, you unconsciously teach others how to treat you. Boundaries are not walls, they are signals of worth. When you make it clear what you will not accept, you are not pushing people away, you are protecting the value of your presence. And when others realize that your time, your energy, your attention are not given cheaply, they start to see them as privileges. Scarcity creates value, and when you stop scattering yourself in places where respect is absent, your presence becomes powerful. People chase what is rare, but they dismiss what is always available. This is why the discipline to withdraw from disrespect is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. The mind of every person instinctively admires what it cannot easily control. When you are not swayed by flattery, when you do not crumble under rejection, when you do not abandon yourself for approval, you become someone they cannot define. That mystery makes you unforgettable. It is not games or manipulation, it is the clarity of knowing who you are and refusing to dilute it. You cannot be obsessed over if you are predictable, if you are ordinary, if you are easily conquered. But when you stand firm in your essence, when you hold a depth that is not easily reached, people are compelled to chase the understanding of you. The greatest respect is earned when you no longer seek it. The most powerful attention is drawn when you no longer beg for it. The deepest admiration comes when you no longer adjust yourself to receive it. And this is the paradox of power. When you no longer need it, you attract it effortlessly. When you are whole within, you radiate a force that cannot be ignored, and the world responds to the strength you have become. True power begins when you stop negotiating with your own worth. The moment you decide that your value is non-negotiable, you rise into a level of confidence that cannot be shaken by circumstances or people. You no longer beg for space, you no longer chase for recognition, you no longer plead for acceptance because you carry within yourself the certainty that you are already enough. This certainty radiates without words. It shapes how you move, how you speak, how you stand, and it becomes a signal that others cannot ignore. They see it in your silence. They feel it in your presence, and it compels them to regard you with an intensity they cannot explain. There is nothing more magnetic than the discipline to walk away from anything that insults your spirit. When you refuse to lower yourself for the comfort of others, you declare that your life is guided by a higher standard, and that standard becomes the invisible line that commands respect. People may test you, they may push against you, but when they see that you will not bend, they learn that your boundaries are unbreakable. It is this unshakable posture that creates admiration,